Alrighty. So this is another video. This time it's going to be like some profile art or character art for a friend of mine called Leon, or the Village Idiot 364 on Twitch. Leon and I are friends in real life, and we actually played a D&D campaign together. It's still running, but we haven't met up in a long time because of scheduling. But this is their character Yuserys, and Yuserys is a Tiefling bard. He is a pretty classic design, I think. Red Tieflings are always, pretty fun and a little bit stereotypical, but I think where this character shines is um, his personality, his gaudiness, and the interactions that he has with other, like, player characters and NPCs. I can't remember like what instrument he plays or anything. It's been a while since I've looked at the character sheet. I think the last time I saw it was when I actually did the art for the portrait on it. So I was the first one and the most recent one to draw Euceris, actually, which is pretty fun for me. Um, in general, I think he's probably in my top three at the very least favorite characters from this campaign. And that doesn't sound very good, but there is quite a bit of people on the party and quite a bit of NPCs that accompany us. I think three of us have, uh, like, I guess you could say they're NPCs, but we do actually play them alongside our actual characters. So there's like maybe 10 people that are regularly involved with the party. Um, And Euceris is the newest one, the newest addition to the party, so I think that says a lot. He's a pretty, like, charismatic, or at least tries to be person. He's very flirty and fun going. He does have pretty bad luck with the dice, though, and a lot of the time they kind of don't agree with how he is trying to do things. So it kind of adds another funny element to this character, just because a lot of his stereotypical bard moves actually end up not going so well. But that's a pretty reoccurring theme, not just in our campaign, but in D&D, you know, in general. I feel like that's pretty common. And if I went back and did this again, there are some things that I would change or do differently. Like, I don't know why I thought that this toned square was a good idea. And then putting it on a multiply layer. I like drawing on a toned canvas, even though I don't do it a lot. But my fatal flaw was turning the like base skin color to multiply. I liked the way the color looked better, but then I never did anything to change the transparency of it. So I had to go back and fix that because I ended up rendering this color instead of how it looks normally. And I did waste a little bit of time having to fix that, as well as a lot of time spent flipping through different layers, looking for different things, because you can see I don't label anything when I'm drawing, but I'm sure a lot of people do that. I had a lot more fun rendering like the skin and the jewelry than I thought I would have. I'm kind of scared of rendering skin digitally just because I feel like there's not a lot of noise and I'm not super like familiar with blending colors in the same way I'm used to mixing paints and like blending them on a canvas. Uh, I was going into it thinking that I had an idea of what I should be doing because I have painted a red tiefling, actually a red tiefling guy before, but it was a totally different vibe and it was also in acrylic paint. And acrylic paint behaves differently than digital art, even if the brushes are supposed to mimic acrylic paint. Although I think this sponge brush is probably the closest one I've ever found. I've used like watercolor brushes, rough brushes, um, even like actual like acrylic brush packs, and I just don't think that they really feel the same as the sponge. I think it feels more similar blending wise to the traditional media than any of the other ones. I also, if I went back, think I would take a look at my values more often. I didn't do that a single time for this piece, so I'm sure it's not as visually compelling as it could have been, or as high contrast as I would have liked it to be. Um, Usually I'll like put a black and white filter over my piece, or copy and paste the whole thing and turn the saturation down. But I forgot to do that for some reason, and I I haven't looked at it what it looks like in black and white just because I don't want to know. Um, I don't think I would go back and work on this piece again, but in the future when I am, you know, doing more digital art, I definitely want to work on remembering it, even for short pieces like this. I do really love how this really vibrant cobalt blue looks against the red skin tone. Euceris does have black hair, but I thought it would look a lot darker and more serious than the character actually like is. I was gonna say in person, but in role play, and how serious that Leon is. Uh, they're a really funny and goofy person, and Euceris is definitely very similar to them. So I wanted it to be bright and fun. I chose blue because I think a blue is a very fitting color for this character, as well as a color that Leon really likes. So I thought it would be a good replacement for stark black hair. I do always worry about balancing a red and blue color palette and not making it look patriotic. And then I did all of the jewelry in silver. At first, I was thinking of having it be black metal, because that is the jewelry that Leon wore for the cosplay. It was, I think, a darker, like black or gunmetal. I ended up going with silver though, and I just used like a pretty common rendering technique. I definitely didn't come up with it or anything, or like figure it out myself. Although I don't really have a specific name for who I saw a specific tutorial from or anything. I am glad I re did the line work a little bit here. I wish I had gone back and worked a little bit more on the hand, but all in all, it ended up looking pretty good. Um, in the original sketch, I wasn't even planning on having the icon go further down than like the chin. But then I realized if the hand was in frame, you'd be able to see like their shoulders or something. So I just added a pretty quick little like blouse. I think the white really kind of makes his skin tone pop, and you focus more on the colors of the hair and the skin than the actual outfit itself. Yuserys is a pretty gaudy character. He likes looking and dressing nice. and he really likes attention and performing for people. But I think it also makes sense that he is a little bit more practical in form. And here I am putting everything into a folder so that I can size it up. I forget how big this canvas was. It was either 2000 by 2000 or, yeah, 4000 by 4000. Um, so it's a pretty big image. I went back and, got rid of the toned square, and then I did a guideline for where the icon would sit, like in the circle. And then I just finished with a little bit of shading, and I end up going in and changing the color of the line art. Uh, I did like a very deep red for the skin, and then some for the hair and stuff. I think I could have done more. I could have done less in different places. At the end of the day, I am definitely happy with it. I wasn't really thinking about specific rules or like tutorials or anything like that. And I think my old art teacher would be mad that I wasn't thinking about the actual planes of a face when I was doing the highlighting and lighting. But for the most part, it came out looking really good. And I don't feel like I need to go back and rework this piece much, if at all. I would definitely just do a new one for the next time I draw Yuserys, and I think it'll come out better than this because I have been happier and happier each time I've drawn this character. And it's the same thing with my own characters. Uh, the first time is always the worst, and this is probably the fifth time I've drawn Yuserys. So, I've definitely gotten more comfortable. And I actually have drawn him since I recorded this. It's been like a week or two since I recorded this video. And I think it came out even better and even closer to how I visualize him looking. So I'm pretty excited about that, I would say. Uh, and like the goal isn't to be perfect. It's just to create things that I like looking at and I think I'm proud of. And I am pretty proud of this. I actually didn't go back and change much more after I stopped recording. I think the only things that I did was adding a waterline in a soft blue, and also adding my signature, and then playing with the background for a little while. I spent about an hour doing different color combos, but in the end, the two favorites were this blue and a light purple. So if anyone watches this, I hope you like it. If not, I liked it, and I will probably be posting more in the future.